It's nearly that time of the year, folks. It's nearly iPhone event time. And I couldn't care less. Here's why. Hello and welcome back to Ellis Reviews, and thank you for subscribing if you have, and if you haven't subscribed, you know where the button is. So if there's one Apple device that I haven't done exactly a shed load of content on, it's this, the iPhone. Now, that isn't because I don't like the iPhone. It's partly because I did do a review of this back in October last year, and I think that video's had about 300 views or something. So it's very difficult to make a noise in the iPhone and smartphone space. But the main reason I don't either talk or write about this device is because I'm a bit bored of it. So this is the iPhone 12 Pro. I bought this back, like I say, in October last year. And when I bought it, I had this grand plan of doing a kind of experiment where I'd run this for 6 months and then switch to the iPhone 12 mini, because I quite like the look of that smaller phone, and I thought it'd be quite an interesting thing to just see what the difference was. I didn't do that because I just couldn't be bothered. And actually the most fun I've had with a smartphone over the last 12 months is ditching this to try out the Google Pixel 4a, which is a fantastic phone and a fraction of the cost of this. But rumours are intensifying about the iPhone 13, and being an Apple tech guy now and having a pretty decent sized audience, I suppose I should cover it. But I have made quite a big decision, and that is that this year I'm not going to go with the Pro version of the iPhone 13. I'm actually going to buy the regular iPhone 13. So what I thought I'd do is just quickly go through some of the rumours that are kind of surfacing about the iPhone 13. These are rumours, they may not happen. It's stuff that comes from people like Mark Gurman, who's pretty well regarded, and yes, John Prosser to a degree. So take all this stuff with a pinch of salt, but everyone else is doing it, so I thought I'd jump on the bandwagon. My reaction basically to these rumours about the iPhone 13 explains why I'm going to go for the regular one rather than going for the Pro. Now we'll start with the all-important chip that goes into these. Now obviously we can guess that the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 Pro are going to have probably the A15 chip, or they might even put the M1 in it, who knows. Whatever they do with it, it's going to be a year better than this one, and it's going to be mega fast. It's going to be the fastest chip on the market, much better than the last iPhone. I'm so bored of Apple Silicon. It's amazing, do not get me wrong, and what they've done with it with the M1 in the Mac is just game-changing. It's fantastic. But when it comes to these devices, they're almost too powerful for their own good. They're just incredibly far ahead of the pack, but they're also far ahead of themselves. So I could keep this iPhone 12 for 3, 4, 5, 6 years probably, and it would still feel pretty fast. They're just so far ahead in the silicon stakes that any noise they make about the new chip, I just immediately switch off. It's a little bit like that moment when they get to the kind of game demonstration on iPhone launch day. Everyone switches off and starts doing something else at that point. I'm like that now when it comes to the chip. It will presumably be the A15, it'll be super fast, it'll be great, fantastic, move on. Now, one of the other things that obviously we all see in the iPhone 13 is a better camera system. And most of the rumours point to the fact that we'll still see this kind of 3-camera array that we have here, where you have your kind of standard zoom lens, your wide angle, and your ultra tight zoom lens. Great, that's fantastic if you do lots of nice photography with your iPhone. I don't. I have cameras, you can see behind me here. I'm a bit of a photographer, as you've probably guessed. Like most people, I think, I use my phone to take photos of stuff that happens throughout the day, photos of receipts, or where I've parked the car. I don't use it for anything else really. Now, when I got the iPhone 12 Pro, it was a pretty big upgrade because it was the first iPhone that I had with the proper night mode and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, fantastic. Video, amazing. It has Dolby Vision and stuff like that, which I never use personally. You can do really cool slow-mo stuff, which I occasionally use just for a bit of a laugh. But 9 times out of 10, probably 99% of the time, I take photos of very regular things with this, moments where I just want to capture the moment. It does that fantastically. Now, details about what we might see in the iPhone 13's camera system is fairly scarce actually, but we can probably make some educated guesses. The sensor will be better. They don't tend to mess around with megapixels. They don't tend to increase them. I think that's fair enough. They haven't had to do that. I think the computational photography that is going on behind the scenes beats any megapixel increase, to be honest. Maybe a larger aperture for certain lenses to give it better low light performance, even though it's very, very good at the moment. That all sounds wonderful. And normally with the Pro, you get this better camera system. That's what has typically distinguished it from the regular iPhone. Great, again, if you're doing lots of photography and stuff with your iPhone. Now, before I started filming this, I quickly looked at the last 3 photos that I took on this phone. One of them was a picture of my girlfriend stroking a dog. The other one was of a cup of coffee. And the other one was of a pork pie. So I don't need a fantastic camera to take those photos. As long as I press a button and something happens and the photo looks okay, I'm happy with it. I don't think I've needed a better iPhone camera since about 2017. So, new features. What are we going to see potentially in the iPhone 13? There are a few marginally interesting rumours. One of them is that Touch ID is going to be reintroduced and potentially placed beneath the screen or on the power button like it is on the iPad Air. Fine. I love Face ID personally. I don't mind Touch ID, but Face ID, when that first was added to the phone, that was one of those, wow, this is so much better moments. We've all got used to the notch, I think. And that was the next thing, actually, potentially a slightly smaller notch or a very almost non-existent notch if they go with the Touch ID under the screen thing. I think most people have got used to the notch. And actually, the notch has become this kind of thing that distinguishes the iPhone from every other phone out there. So again, I can't really get excited about that. 120 Hz screen refresh rate, which is known in Apple world as ProMotion. Now you can get this at the moment on, in fact, the only device you can get this on at the moment is the iPad Pro. And it's really nice. And if you haven't experienced it before, if you pick up a regular iPad like the iPad Air and an iPad Pro and scroll both of them side by side, the iPad Pro with the ProMotion display will look much smoother. And it almost feels quicker because of that. However, I have recently switched from a iPad Pro to an iPad Air as my daily driver iPad, and one of them, the former, had the ProMotion display. The one I'm using now, the iPad Air, doesn't have ProMotion. And at first it was a little bit jarring. It felt like I'd gone back in time a little bit, but I very, very quickly got used to that standard refresh rate, and it's not a big deal anymore. So again, I can't get that excited about ProMotion if it comes to the iPhone. It'd be nice if it's there. My guess is that they would only put it on the Pro version. They are a bit behind on this. You know, Samsung and many other smartphone manufacturers have been adding high refresh rate screens for a long time. So, oh, and the other thing is ProRes video recording, which again, I would guess would come on the Pro version of the phone. ProRes suggests it's some kind of raw video format, which basically will give you more control over changing colours and contrast and exposure. Totally pointless on a phone. A bit like the Dolby Vision thing they added to this. No idea why it's on there. I bet no one's ever used it apart from Phil Schiller, probably. Yeah, out of all those things, ProMotion maybe would potentially tempt me to the iPhone 12 Pro, but it's still not enough. Colours. Now, okay, last year was a bit of a different year for the iPhone Pro line because we got this colour, which was this lovely blue, Pacific Blue, I believe it's called. Trust me, it's a lovely shade of blue. Very premium looking. I love it. It's still a bit dour though, and when you compare it to other phones that can be very bright and colourful, including the regular iPhone 12, and whatever you think about those kind of pastel-y colours that Apple produces, you can only get them if you go for the lower end phone. Every year when I get the iPhone Pro, I always look at the regular iPhone and wish I could get one of those colours. What is rumoured with the iPhone 13 Pro is going to be a gold colour, although gold, it could be brass, it could be anything. You get the idea, that kind of colour that you get on your fireplace when you're from the 1980s. You can guarantee that the regular iPhone 13 will have some interesting new colours, some really interesting stuff going on. So again, that is another reason why I would be tempted towards the regular 13 rather than the 13 Pro. Generally speaking, most years, Apple seems to think that people who buy the iPhone Pro version aren't that fussed about the phone looking a little bit funky. It has to be very formal and almost like military-like. Oh, there is rumour of a matte black iPhone 13, which just sounds amazing. So what does Apple need to do? This might sound unfair, and it probably is a little bit. We had a bit of a discussion about this on my Discord server. If you want to join that, by the way, I am now a Patreon person. You can support this channel on Patreon. Check out the link in the description. But yeah, on Discord, we were talking about this, and the consensus was that I was probably being a little bit unfair about my desire for Apple to be a little bit more brave and interesting with the iPhone, because it sells like hotcakes. It's the reason they have got a shed load of money in the bank account, and they are one of the most successful companies of all time. From a business perspective, I can completely see why they're sticking to the plan and just being fairly straight-laced about it. But, you know, I look at what Samsung are doing with the Galaxy Fold and all this stuff, and other manufacturers, and they all seem to be having a bit more fun than Apple. And yeah, not all of those experiments work, and flip phones, for example, are very expensive at the moment and they have lots of flaws, but they're interesting. I'd love Apple to keep doing this, keep making these wonderfully utilitarian, powerful, wonderful phones. Keep doing this, but give us something else. Give us another type of iPhone that's a bit more interesting. Give us a flip phone, give us something, give us a stylus, a mini Apple Pencil or something. I cannot get excited about anything that I've talked about in this video, particularly the chip that's inside it, because we know that come September when they go and show us this wonderful new phone, that they will ramble on for hours, it seems, about the new chip. And I'm sure they're proud of it. Fantastic. You've got to talk about it to a degree, but it just bores me rigid. So I am going to go for the regular iPhone 13. This year will not be a pro year for me. So maybe that makes me less professional. Who knows? What do you think about the iPhone 13? Are you excited about it? Which one are you going to go for? Are you going to go for the Pro? Are you going to go for the regular? If the Mini is still a thing, are you going to go for the Mini? Let me know in the comments, please. Now, if you've got a little bit more time, I have been talking a little bit about the iPad Air 4 in this video. If you want to see my long-term review of that tablet, which, spoiler, I think is wonderful, keep watching for a link to that video. But in the meantime, and as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.